As I've been working on this in some diary remix, I have a book that's called The Complete Beatles, and it's a studio diary kept between 1965 and 1968. So it's Rubber Soul, Revolver, Sgt. Pepper. But they weren't getting into Let It Be at that point, although I'm not sure. But there's an entry, November 24, 1966, and I'm just going to read this. And so the Beatles entered the new phase of their career, no longer the smiling Fab Four singing boy-girl pop songs. Now they were casually dressed, sometimes sporting mustaches, smiling when they wanted, who would go on to make the greatest ever batch of rock recordings, just for the merest whim, strictly not for performing on the stage. So even in 1966, that change was felt. But I think 1966 was a sea change year, and where the whole mood of the planet started to change. And I started to spot it in recordings, and I think the Beatles were kind of at the forefront of that, experimenting with playing things backwards and various studio experiments. That's not because things were changing in society. It was just the technology was there, and those kinds of experimental things had been being done in the avant-garde and in composition departments at universities where they were playing with electronics. That even goes back farther than that. It goes back to the 1920s with Luigi Russolo and other composers. So it was nothing new. It was just that Paul was getting into that kind of stuff, as was George Martin. So they were all kind of connected there, and so that kind of was a convergence, so to speak, of things that were already existing in technology and the people starting to play around with it as an experiment. But I think people were just seeing things changing in the world like they are now and feeling depressed, perhaps. And so the mood of the music changed in 1966.